Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. I am here with Patreon supporter Arabella Pierce. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Who is also a frequent member of the Super Chat Sunday. You might know her as God's favorite atheist. I know she's my favorite atheist. So
That's what I'm talking about right there.
and I know many, many atheists. So before we get into like what you want to talk about, why don't we just go into a little backstory quickly of like what got you involved in progressive politics? How did you find my show? And what kind of led you to where you're at right now?
Leaving the church. I started to study science, and the more I studied things like evolution and stuff like that, I started to realize that people are the way they are because of evolution. And so once I started to realize that, I was like, oh, so that's why everybody's so different. So there's really nothing wrong with any of that. So that was my first progressive stance. And then,
real quick, so you were raised in what type of religion?
Pentecostal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, is that the like one with the snakes and shit?
Sometimes, depending on which church you went to.
Okay, so where did you grow up specifically?
I grew up in Indiana.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yeah. All of my estranged family lives back there. They all still believe in fairy tales and talk to their sky daddy, I don't subscribe to that voodoo anymore.
Their sky daddy.
It is. It's like some father figure from 2,000 years ago shaking his finger at you saying, do it and I'll fucking spank you.
I've never heard of God or Jesus referred to as Sky Daddy. That's very funny. So you were raised Pentecostal in the Midwest, and then you started like doing your own research, and you came to this conclusion. How long ago do you think?
I was 25. I was 24 the first time I ever realized that there was more than one galaxy. I had no idea. I was churched in the school. I was schooled in the church. I didn't go to public school, so I had no idea that there were countless galaxies, and I had no idea. So for me, and I also was always taught that this solar system was the only one in the galaxy. So I had no idea there was even any other planets till I was 24, and then I watched Carl Sagan. I watched Cosmos on YouTube, and I was blown away. Carl Sagan single-handedly turned me into an atheist.
That son of a bitch. Wow, well that's really fantastic. So, and then from there you just sort of, it's one of those things I would imagine. I think a lot of us progressives in one form or another, you get to this, then it's sort of like the Matrix. You can't go back to getting to drinking the gruel and thinking you're in this amazing place when you're not. Like you can't go back.
Yeah. I don't understand now that I'm an atheist how scientists who are born atheists later in life become Christians. That blows my mind. It's like, but
Well, that's an interesting thing, and we'll actually get into this. We'll discuss this briefly, and then we can go into what you want to talk about, because I think,
and I love religion.
Yeah,
it's my favorite thing to combat.
I think, in my perception as someone who was raised, Irish Catholic, and yeah, oh yeah, a couple of problems with the Catholic Church, just a couple. So God, where do I begin? There was a lot of scientists and astrologers and stuff like that who believed hundreds of years ago, who believed in a God and a higher power. There was a spirituality to it, but then I think organized religion, right. And I think organized religion has a tendency to me, it's the greatest barrier between human beings and a connection to some type of higher power, whatever you want to call that. And so, I'm not trying to like convert you into believing in a God or whatever, but I think then it's because organized religion has done that, then it is, in my opinion, has forced a lot of people to just reject that and then reject the belief of God. Now, who knows if there is a God or is there not? And we don't have to even get into that discussion. But to me, I think you can have, if you take organized religion, which is a means of control, it's an institution, it's a it's
a shitstorm.
Yeah, it's a shitstorm. It's brainwashing. It's whatever. I mean, when I found out that the Catholic Church confessionals were created in like whatever the 14th or 15th century as a means for the church to just keep track of people, I was like, wow, that's a brilliant scam. Just tell me everything. So now they know this person sleeping with this person, this guy cheated, she's lying, and they can use that to manipulate the community. But I think, me personally, I don't have a problem with any scientists going to some type of spirituality or higher power, only because, to me, from a purely science standpoint, if you can't definitively prove there is a God, but you can't definitively prove there is not. So therefore, some type of higher power might exist. Now, granted, I'm sort of a Buddhist and Star Wars fan, so maybe it's the Force, maybe it's whatever, and I've worked in some sort of support group type things that are like just a power greater than myself, which can be the waves I was just surfing today. It can be whatever. So anyway, that's sort of where I land on that, I guess.
It doesn't bother me when they are. It's just I don't understand how they do it. How they go from everything they've learned in science and then to religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I don't have a problem with it, to each their own, whatever. But it just bedazzles me how that even happens. Because once you know something, you're like you said, you know it. So when you've seen all the evidence of evolution and all the evidence of the Big Bang and all the evidence of how old the Earth really is, and none of the evidence in the Bible has ever come up in any of that, not a layer of salt around the Earth for a global flood, not a burial site for some resurrected Messiah with really bad daddy issues. Like, no evidence for that stuff. So it's like, how do you go from an evidence fact-based world into a world where you got to believe a dude walked on water and that mutilating kids' genitals is of God? Like,
Yeah.
It's just, Buddhism is a philosophy. And I very much believe in spirituality. I just think religion hijacked it.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that there's a God needed for spirituality to happen. I just don't. I think we are the spirituality. Each one of us. We're all connected. We make it up. We are it. We are the pulse of the universe. All life is. And it's all precious. Every bit of it. Everywhere you find it, it's all precious. To hurt one's enemy is to hurt oneself.
That's a great philosophy.
Sorry.
That's a fantastic philosophy. As I see the Buddha head next to the rose behind you.
He's all over. He's on my wrist. Like,
that's cool.
I don't know if you see that. Like, there he is. He's on my wrist, and that says Namaste in Tibetan Sanskrit.
Nice.
And I have two Buddhas, two fat, happy Buddhas, one on each foot. One's a frog, though, because I love frogs. I have a thing for frogs. Because they show evolution all in one lifespan. And that's why I love frogs.
All right, so what do you want to get into? What do you want to talk about? You said you took extensive notes?
On Mike Pence, because he's the total dirtbag. And, like, everybody's so excited to make him president. And I'm like, stop being excited for that, because he's a dirtbag. What do you think about him?
Well, I think multiple things. First of all, he was picked by the Republican Party. He was not picked by Trump or his people. And the Republican Party put him in there in the, like, eventuality. Like, well, they're like, well, if Trump does win, he's such a wingnut loose cannon, we're going to need our guy in there. And if Trump gets too out of control... I remember Noam Chomsky said this before the inauguration. He said, if Trump gets impeached, it'll come from the right. Mm-hmm. If he starts threatening their deep state machine, their money. So Pence is like groomed for this, like Trump's out of control. And, his he's so anti-environment. There's people in Indiana that have been, there's factories and stuff he's let happen and deregulated, and people have had all kinds of health issues. There's obviously he's very homophobic. He wants to recruit the gay out of you. That'll work. And
that's one of the best things I've ever heard him say too. Is that's what he thinks. Conversion therapy. That's gonna work. Yeah,
he's out of his fucking mind. So yeah, and I think the other danger of him is the left, which is like, and I understand the anyone but Trump, especially today, right now. So he is basically said, hey, Nazis aren't that bad. He is provoking a nuclear war with North Korea. So it's literally, he's talking, he literally, what was a week ago, said, I want to bring the fury like you've never seen or whatever. Like, he's talking about nuking the shit out of another country. He's talking about the potential annihilation of life on planet Earth. So I totally get the real fear. He's saying these things. It's like, it's not conspiratorial. You're not making it up. So I understand the real fear of, we got to get him out of there. And Mike Pence is, he's safer. And you're already seeing the corporate Democrats. Oh boy, I long for the days of George Bush, who is a war criminal. So it's Mike Pence's.
He paints really pretty pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can forgive him. And we can forgive Trump because his hair looks amazing. Let's face it.
So yes, all good points. All excellent points. So yeah, I think Mike Pence is not just his policy and his record as governor of Indiana, but his ideological stances are pretty scary. But also the scariness of, he's a nice, clean cut. If he becomes president, he won't be tweeting crazy shit. There's no pussy grabbing history. He's just a nice, clean-cut, evil Republican. So that's where I stand on him. And the thing, and we talked about this at the Jimmy Dore show, the live one we did last night. Jimmy was making an excellent point of, the Democrats have such an opportunity now with Trump's recent, yay, Nazis aren't that bad. His speech that he just gave, where if the Democrats were smart, they would tie every single Republican to Trump and say, you backed this guy, you supported a guy that's literally brought Nazis into the White House. He supports Nazis. He made fun of someone with disabilities. He made fun of a Gold Star family. And will the Democrats be smart enough to do that? Even if Mike Pence gets in there, will the Democratic Party be smart enough to do that? My thought is probably not, because they'll be too busy shitting on progressives. But what did you want to talk about? You said you did a lot of extensive notes.
Before I say anything else, I gotta say, Nazis aren't really that bad. Have you read Mein Kampf? Everything's in there. It's all in there, man. Come on. White people are better than everybody, and everyone else should just shut up.
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
I don't understand it. I'm a white girl. I get to be in that group.
Yay, we're better. It's also like going back to the earlier discussion of science. If you get into the science of it, there's no such thing as race.
Yeah, you don't see brown cows telling, or like white cows telling brown cows, I'm not going to eat with you because you're brown. I'm not going to drink water with you because you're brown. It's like racism is something that is totally man-made, and it's just another line of division to keep us from paying attention to what the big dogs are doing.
Of course, it's a construct, because the human body, skin is just the human body adapting to its surroundings. So I'm of Irish and English descent, so my ancestors grew up on a cold, rainy island in the North Atlantic, so they developed fair skin to absorb more vitamin D. Somebody that's of African descent, the human body developed darker skin to not get skin cancer when there's severe sun. So if you take a group, like if you were to take a group of 100 people of all different ethnicities, hair color, Asian, black, white, whatever, put them on an island, in a couple of generations, they're all going to start to look alike. And if that island is in a cold area, they will adapt to that. If it's in a hot area, they will adapt to that. And so everything else, culture, is just customs. It's just song and food and religion, and a lot of that is influenced by the surroundings. Like our Japanese are just they eat a lot of seafood because it's an island nation. Like that's why in America we have the breadbasket. So martial arts was developed in Japan, and specifically to farmers took, like, a lot of martial art weapons are farm equipment that they used to defend themselves when bigger armies would come and invade their islands. So that's just the culture and the history of it. So there is no race. There's no subsex of DNA either. Like in the animal kingdom, there's a mountain lion and there's a house cat and stuff like that, but there's no such thing as like African DNA or European DNA or Asian DNA. There's no such thing. The only difference in DNA is just my individual DNA and your individual DNA, but there is no ethnic DNA groups. So
yeah, it's the most ridiculous thing we do to each other.
Yeah,
it really is. It's literally something that we could change so easily. It requires no money, no weapons, just knowledge, just acceptance, just love. That's all it requires. And, just these white Nazis. We have violent Nazis on our streets, people. Like, what is going on? We are pre-World War II right now.
I know, it's starting to feel like Germany in the early 30s.
Well, maybe in 70 years we'll have universal health care then.
Yeah.
We're about 70 years behind Germany, so maybe in 70 years we'll have health care as a right and not a privilege.
Well, that's the thing. If we had health care, if the Democratic Party hadn't abandoned working people, if we didn't jump into and embrace globalization, and we had jobs for everybody in health care and affordable and like free college tuition and good public schools, would there be a need for the KKK or inner city street gangs? Because if you look at the recruiting tactics of white supremacist groups or inner city gangs or even terrorist organizations, it's fairly similar. They find disenfranchised males, primarily in their 20s, that don't have opportunities. The terrorists go, your life sucks. Well, America did it. America and Israel did it. They're not wrong because we just...
The military does that too.
Huh?
The military does that too.
The military does that? A street gang does that. Look.
Technique. It just is. Take out the vulnerable, the ones who need something from you, because you don't have, like, the rich people, they don't need anything, so why would they fight for anything? They got everything they need. You gotta go to the ghettos.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like you grow up and you're in a tough inner city situation or whatever, and it's the same environment. There's no jobs, there's not a lot of opportunity. So either join the military, which is that gang, or you join our street gang and we'll protect you, and I just need you to sell these things and whatever. And the KKK and those groups do the same. They recruit the same way. You're poor, you're white, you don't have a lot of opportunity. Well, it's come join us, and then it's always their fault. It's that group over there, and we're going to protect you from them or get them or whatever. So,
and like the war on drugs, that funds those groups. Definitely, all of them, for sure. So if we were to legalize and regulate, we would cut the needs out of all these things. Like, they wouldn't be able to survive anymore. So it's like, people talk about immigration. Like, they don't want all the Mexicans coming here. They never talk about Asians. They always talk about the Mexicans. Those are always the immigrants they don't want here. Well, if we stopped buying drugs from Mexico and we defunded all of the cartels down there, and people didn't have to worry about the kinds of things that they have to deal with down there, then they would probably want to be in their own country.
Yeah.
They would more than likely stay there, work there. We wouldn't have this problem. But we are the cause of our government is the cause of a lot of the problems that Americans are seeing economically, and even with like private prisons and things like that. Our government's doing it to us, and they're making us hate each other for it.
Yep.
And it's working. And now they're taking over. Yeah. Look at it.
It is working. It's been working for 4 decades. They've had this 4-decade, as Chris Hedges calls it, this slow motion 4 decades long coup, and it's working. And it's fueling all of these things. We need the war on drugs to fuel the private prison industry, and we need poverty to, you notice, like, in 2000, so they've learned So the draft in Vietnam and the war was on TV. That was the first generation that went, oh, I'm not fighting your war. Because prior to that, they just said war, draft, and everyone, woo, you know. So they said, we're not fighting your war. So then they realized, boy, we can't have a draft. And we can't have the war on TV, what war actually looks like. I mean, we can embed reporters and, yay, rock and roll America. But so in 2007, military reenlistment and recruitment was so low because the war in Iraq was just going on forever, and Afghanistan. No one wanted to join. Weird that suddenly a global financial crisis happened and recruitment went way up. I talked to so many people when I did tours there in 08, 07 and 08, and like 2011, you know, they were like, well, I'm like, why did you reenlist? The money. The guy was just, I came for the money. They paid me 20 grand to reenlist. There's no jobs back in my town. This is what I had to do. So anyway, let's go back to the other research you did for Mike Pence, though. Sorry, we keep going off on tangents.
Oh no, it's good. I love it. So I did a lot of quotes from him, and a couple of these, he blows my mind with some of the stuff I heard him say. Like when it comes to evolution, I watched the video from 2002, right? And he was on the House floor saying that this is something he actually said on TV to people. I believe someday scientists will come to see that only the theory of intelligent design provides even a remotely rational explanation for the known universe. And then he went on to make a case for why it should be taught in the science classroom, because he was saying, you know, science doesn't know everything, and that evolution is just a theory, and you know, so he's like, so let this theory be pushed in the classroom too. And I'm like, you know, I get it. If you want to teach people that, I don't think children should have to go to church. I think that it should be illegal for children to go to church until they're 18 years old. You can make up your own mind when you're an adult, because something like that should be your choice. And if you want to believe in that, fine, whatever. But that kind of stuff where you want to put in my school, you want to teach my kids, no, you got to keep your hands off my kids. I thought you were small government, Mike Pence.
Right. Well, that's what they're always they're small government with certain things, but then they want to impose their right-wing agenda for everything else. Let me ask you this question. Okay. Since you did all this research. Now, when Mike Pence says those things, do you think when he says those things he actually firmly believes them, or do you think he's saying them as just a tactic to rally the Christian right that is such the base of the Republican Party?
I think that he says it as a tactic. He's a politician. I don't think he means most of what he says, but I don't think that really matters because the end result is still the same. He still gets the legislation, the crazy stuff, criminalizing abortion and, you know, being able to torture the LGBT community and discriminate against, like, his legislation is just so far out there that I don't even know if he should be allowed in politics. Like, you should get out, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, Trump and Pence were probably the two most beatable presidential ticket like ever, and it just shows you how inept the Democrats are, that they couldn't beat fucking evil, crazy Donald Trump and then Mike Pence. Mm-hmm. You know, that the Democrats have no policy, they have no real platform, they forced that I'm with her nonsense. And then just said and the Democrats come in so arrogant with their, well, if you're, even an inch left of center, that's our vote. We get it. You have no right to vote for anyone else. You have no right to question our platform. You just have to vote for us because they're evil. So that's part of their problem. And that's, there's the quote from Malcolm X, which is, if you want people to run to the fox, create a wolf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
they do that a lot. And I think that it's possible that Pence being president was always the plan.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
I don't like to be conspiracy theorist, although I do believe in aliens. I want to believe. you know. So I believe that he was always meant to be president, and they've been grooming him, and they've been keeping him away from the scandal that is Trump and his family, because they want to keep him polished and pretty, and they want to make him look good. And look, he had nothing to do with Trump, and he was against this, and he was against that, and you know, they want to be able to put their whip and their big gun. And once he gets in, if that happens, we are going to see an attack on all kinds of rights, women's rights, minority rights. Yeah. I can't even begin to describe to you some of the bills he put together that I read yesterday. Like, some of the language you can kind of understand, because I was telling you that it's worded so crazy, it's hard to just read it and understand what it's saying.
Which is why that's intentional. They don't want the average American citizen to read this and go, "Oh, this bill means this and this and this," and that I don't like that. It's for you to read and be convoluted and be like, "Huh?" It's supposed to be intentionally vague so that they can misinterpret. They can abuse it as much as possible. You know, if I keep things vague, it's just like, you know, it's like if you're dating somebody, you ask them like, "Are you seeing other people?" Well, by people, there's a lot of people in this world, and they're all interacting with each other, and on a daily basis, there's people that I see on levels of professionalism and interaction. And they just babble on. It's like, answer the question.
Let me read you a couple of the last ones I put on here, because these were some of the craziest ones I found.
Okay.
Disney's Mulan is evidence that women shouldn't be in the military. Okay. Americans' ideas are superior to countries all across the world. He said that. General. Our ideas are superior.
Right. So
let's be clear. There is no path to legalization. So just in case you're wondering out there, world, like I was, you know, when I found out about this guy, no path. That's not happening. I long for the day that Roe versus Wade is sent to the ash heap of history. This is the one that really surprised me. This one surprised me. Budgets are moral documents. Federal funding should reflect the priorities and the values of the majority of the American people. I saw that one, and I was just like, have you seen the fiscal budget? What are you talking about? Like, you spend so much money on killing people. So are those, I guess those are our values.
Well, that's the thing. That's just it. That's our American value. If we're going to say that, then guess what? If we spend 55% of our budget on killing people, mainly a lot of civilians, you know, I just did that video on that province in Afghanistan that has drone striked and killed numerous civilians. They interviewed actual people who were like, "Oh, this is why I joined ISIS, is because this U.S. drone killed them." So our values are bombing poor people, taking their resources, not caring about the poor in our own country, not caring about schools or kids. We don't care that kids are getting gunned down like in a grade school. We don't care about that. So that's what, then okay, that's a good point, Mike. You're making a great point. The budget reflects how awful and greedy and hate-filled America is. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks.
I don't know about you, but that's not the America I want to be with. That's not what I want in my life. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want that for anyone else's kids. You know, we are all equal. The only thing that I think makes us truly different is religion. Back, like, full circle. I think that religion is such a deep divide. Like, we can get over the racism. We can get over the money divide. We can get over the educational divide. But when it comes to religion, that is such a deep-seated need to believe that they don't base anything on fact. So how do you combat that? And I don't think we'll ever eradicate that specific division. And that's a pretty big one, because it can be violent on all sides.
Sure. And I think and we'll wrap up here, but like, you bring up an excellent point. So if we're really going to be, if we want to be the America that we would want, America is about religious freedom. And too often these groups use that religious freedom as me forcing my will on you. And the real America is a white Christian America, which is complete bullshit. So if he really was about American values, they should be like, well, you can practice whatever. You can be an atheist, you can be a Buddhist, you can be a Christian, you can be a whatever, and as long as you're, not harming anyone and you're sticking within the laws of society and it's consulting adults or whatever, you should be able to do that. So that's the problem is and this is the Christian right does this so much, is they jam their values and they take this moral high ground with their family values and all that stuff, which is just, it's that other video I did based on the Hedges article about the Christian fascists. So many people at the Christian right, they are fascists, and that's why they love Trump so much, because they're greedy. So many of them, they're using their church and the non-for-profit status of a religion to live high on the hog. I mean, they're just built. It's another corporate entity that is screwing poor and people over.
Yeah, that claims to love the poor as well.
Right. Well, oh God. It's like,
I love you but starve.
Right.
But I love you but starve.
Like, Jesus wouldn't do any of this. He wouldn't be a part of any of this. He was a socialist hippie. I mean, he was like...
You have more in common with you and I.
Right.
Than with the rest of the crazy nut job baby dunkers. Okay? Because that's what they are. They're baby dunkers. They dunk their babies in water and they think their babies are saved. There's nothing to save your baby from except for you. You are what we need to save your baby from, because this is like getting out of control here. We got too many people like putting God hates faggot t-shirts on kids. Please don't push your narrative onto your child. Like, I get it, you can raise your kid how you want, but there's got to be a line somewhere.
Well, yeah, if you raise your kid with love and acceptance, like, a kid is just going to go on what you say. You know this, you're a parent. So when people say, how do I explain to my children about gay married couples or transgender bathrooms? If a little kid came to me and said, it was like, let's say I had a 5-year-old and they're like, hey, Dad, what why are there, my friend in school has 2 dads. He doesn't have a mom and a dad. I'd say, well, some people just prefer to be, with their own gender, and it's okay. And then the kid would go, oh, okay. And they'd go back to playing. But if I tell them it's evil and it's crazy and I make them wear God hates fag shirts, then I'm causing the problem. I'm making it worse. I'm causing division and hate and all that stuff.
Exactly. Which is why I don't think kids should be exposed to it. I just don't. I think that that should have to wait till later in life, and then you can decide for yourself. Because if you're 20 years old, 22 years old, an educated person, and somebody tells you that a grown man walked on water or made thousands of fish out of one fish, and you say, sounds right, then you deserve to be religious. Have your religion. Whatever. I don't know what to tell you. By then you should have learned, but whatever. I have a little bit of a funny Jesus joke that's not too racy for the internet.
Okay.
Okay, so you're in the market. There's a woman, and there's a bunch of people standing around her with stones. And Jesus walks up and he says his infamous line, "He who has not sinned shall cast the first stone." Everybody drops their stones and starts walking away. And then this gorgeous woman starts walking up, and she's got like a huge rock in her hand, and she just chucks it at this girl and hits her square in the head. And Jesus turns around and goes, "God damn it, Mom, I hate when you do that."
Well, that's fantastic, Arabella. Thank you so much. Any last final thought?
Do whatever you can locally. That's all I can say. Do whatever you can locally, because this is our country and we will take it back. We can do this if we work together. Seriously.
I agree. That's in little small steps. Don't stand at the base of the mountain and think it's too much. Just take one step at a time, and
right.
I think you can get through it. Well, thank you so much. This was fantastic. And
this was a blast.
Yeah, this is really cool, and I appreciate the support. And thank you.
Patreon.
Yes. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and come Super Chat Sundays. You can interact with lovely people like God's favorite atheist right here. And my name is Graham Elwood, and please make Gotham great again.
Yes.